Something happened to you, and nobody around you has any idea what it actually cost. They saw the outside of it. The days you showed up anyway. The face you put on because the alternative was explaining something that has no language people understand, unless they've been inside it. They handed you things. Time heals everything. It happened for a reason. At least you came out stronger. And every one of those sentences, no matter how much they meant them, was a way of asking you to be finished with something they never started. Because real pain is uncomfortable to witness. So they give you a framework that closes it, a sentence that ends the chapter, a reason. Because reasons make suffering bearable for the people watching more than for the person carrying it. And you took the reason. Because you were exhausted. Because agreeing there was a reason was easier than explaining why the reason felt like an insult. It felt like an insult because it assumed the universe arranged your specific loss as a lesson it designed for your benefit. And nothing in what you actually lived through felt like it was designed for your benefit. It arrived without asking, without explaining itself, without leaving any note about what you were supposed to take from it. It just happened, and then it stayed. Here's what those people were getting wrong. Not the destination, the mechanism. What you went through didn't build you because it happened for a reason. It built you because of what it was forced to take with it when it finally passed. And this is the part nobody names, not because they're hiding it. Because most people who went through something real never stopped long enough to examine what was left after it. They survived it. They moved past it. They carried it forward like weight into every room that came after. But they never turned around and looked at what the thing that happened had taken with it when it left. Because if they had, they would have found something strange. Everything it removed, the comfortable assumptions, the relationships that required a version of them that no longer existed, the certainties they'd been carrying like structure that turned out to be decoration. None of it was holding them up. All of it was holding them still, stripped, exposed, built from what remained. That's not a recovery story. That's the only construction method that produces something permanent. Guts didn't rise from the eclipse. He opened his eyes. That was it. That was the whole thing. Arm gone, eye gone. The only people he'd ever belonged to, taken in a single night. And in that moment, not later, not after anything resembling recovery, in that specific moment, he made a decision nobody witnessed and nobody could have understood from the outside. He opened his eyes. Then he moved. Not toward triumph, not toward anything that looked like strength. Just the smallest possible unit of forward. Because what the eclipse stripped from him left only the part that was actually him. No performance, no armor built for other people's comfort, no version of himself constructed to survive the versions of his life that came before. Just what remained. And what remained was the most concentrated, precise thing he had ever been. Not because the eclipse made him powerful, because it cleared away everything that was diluting him. Thorfinn sat in the dirt. This is the part of his story most people skip. The silence after. The hollow that came when the rage died and the mission died, and the identity he'd built on top of both of them collapsed into nothing. He didn't know who he was in that silence. That's the part. Not the rebuild. That comes later. The silence before the rebuild. The specific experience of having nothing left to organize yourself around. And in that silence, slowly, without announcement, a question arrived. Not who he was going to become, who he actually was. Underneath the mission, underneath the rage, underneath every version of himself he'd constructed to survive the life he had before. The answer was quieter than anything that came before it, but it was the first answer that belonged entirely to him. Jinwoo's moment wasn't the awakening. It was the decision before it. Alone in the double dungeon, no party, no system that cared. Every ranking he'd ever been given told him exactly what kind of future to expect. And he read the quest anyway. Nobody saw that. Nobody would have understood it if they had. He didn't know it would mean anything. He just chose. The smallest private decision, made in the absence of any evidence it would matter, in a place where nobody was watching, and every reason to stop was louder than every reason to continue. He chose anyway. Not because of a reason, because of what was left after every other option stopped making sense. That's what the bottom actually produces. 3 things specifically. The first, it removes what was never load-bearing. Everything you were carrying that you thought was structure, but was only familiar. Not gone, cleared. The way a surgeon removes something growing in a place it was never supposed to be. The second, it shows you where the actual floor is. Not the floor you assumed from inside the comfortable version of your life. The real one. The one you can stand on when everything above it has been taken. And that floor, for almost everyone who finds it, is further down than they feared, and more solid than they expected. The third, it builds what nothing else can reach. Not character, not resilience, not any word that gets compressed into a quote. Architecture. The difference between someone who went through something real and came out the other side, and someone who only read about it, isn't how they feel. It's what they can now hold. Because the weight changed the shape of what's underneath, in exactly the places it was heaviest, permanently. You went through something. Maybe you're still inside it. Maybe you're standing in what's left, trying to understand what it was. Either way, what happened to you has already been working on you, whether you've been conscious of it or not. The only question is whether you work back, not toward what you had before, toward what the clearing made possible. If this said something the platitudes never did, stay. This channel was built for exactly the person who went through something real and needed something more honest than a reason, not comfort. Architecture. Subscribe if you're done just surviving.